It's my list, so I'm going to cheat. My number 5 is movies, not movie. In fact, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say at number 5 this year, we have Lovecraftian horror. Because not 1 or 2 or 3, but I'm going to put 4 movies into this one spot under the arch of Lovecraftian horror. So we have got, right at the beginning of the year, UK release date, we had Eggers' The Lighthouse, which was an exercise in filmmaking, and it absolutely blew me away when I watched it at the cinema. Can you remember cinemas? They used to be buildings that we were allowed to go in and cough at each other. I don't know what happened to them. I have to say on rewatch, I wasn't as taken with it, but even though it's a masterclass in filmmaking, we had other Lovecraftian horrors this year. So, Richard Stanley came back this year with Colour Out of Space. Oh my life, that is a movie that is such a kaleidoscopic trip. You know, the subject matter should be so dark and gloomy, but it's not. It's bright and it's colourful, and it's got a soundtrack that it kind of keeps a pace, gets your heart pounding, yet lets you feel uncomfortable. And you know that this film is going to get messy. And messy it gets. I mean, you've got Nicolas Cage for a start. Now, Nicolas Cage is full-blown crazy Nicolas Cage here, but I think this is his best, the best he's been for a long time. And I know there's a lot of Mandy fans out there. I know Jambo's a big Mandy fan, but I think Mandy borderline silly quite often, and I think Nicolas Cage gets a little bit silly in places. Whereas here, the fact that he's a little bit more restrained means that the elements of craziness are super crazy. I mean, yeah, he is nuts. He is nuts. And the effects, there's some amazing practical effects in here. This goes balls out crazy. And it left me troubled, should we say. It left me troubled, but excited to rewatch it. So I think this could go up in my list. But if we're keeping with the Lovecraftian horrors, if there was one that I could watch right now again, it would be Jeffrey Brown's, is that the person that did it? Jeffrey Brown's The Beach House. A movie that might have slipped under your radar. It's great, it's brilliant. There's an actress called Lena Liberto or something like that. She's the main character. Her and her boyfriend go to a beach house that his family own. There's somebody else already staying there, a couple that's already staying there. So they decide to spend the weekend together, effectively, have lunch together, and things aren't going as they seem. And a bit like Colour Out of Space, this is a bright film set in daylight, set on the beach, and while this doesn't have the budget of the other 2 films that I've been talking about in this section, she's so good and so believable, and she's our anchor to the story, that we follow her through discovering that something isn't right with the water, and there's an infection, and there's some really gross practical effects that go with it. And although this is much more simple a story than both The Lighthouse and A Colour Out of Space, it's really engaging. And I found myself really falling in love with this film and being really excited to see what the director does next. I think this is a film that a lot of people are going to really enjoy if you give it a chance. Now, the last one in my number 5 spot, because I am cheating here, that I'm not going to talk too much about the reason why it's here, but apart from saying that we've got the aquatic horror element, is Underwater. Underwater, or I think there was a review, it might have been Mark Kermode, referred to it as Wet Alien, which I absolutely get. But for the first 45 minutes, this was on track to be my film of the year because it was so much fun. Oh, I've seen it before, but it was so much fun. It was so well executed. And there was elements of the descent in its claustrophobic scenes. There was loads of elements of Alien. It was witty. It had some really original and really, really good deaths. And I loved where it went. Even though I said that on the first 45 minutes it was on track to be the film of the year, I loved where it went. This promises and it delivers. The reason it's not at the top of my list is couldn't see what was going on very much. It's like, I know they're underwater, and I know it's dark, but someone turn a bloody light on. Get a bloody torch. Where are those fish with the little things that dangle? They're called anglerfish. Can we get from them swimming around so we can actually see a little bit more? Because I did find that in what was probably meant to be a bit of confusion about they couldn't quite see what was going on, I did find myself getting, one, a little bit confused, and two, a little bit annoyed. So it's not good enough to probably have been in my top 10 if it wasn't for those other films because of that. It is a good, fun horror movie that if you were to double, triple, quadruple bill with the other ones I've mentioned, I think you get a little bit more out of as well. So number 5, Lovecraftian Horror. At number 4, we have Brian Spindell's The Mortuary Collection. The Mortuary Collection is a good, fun, crazy, silly, over-the-top anthology movie. It's really strange to say this. It feels like this should be a Goosebumps film or a Goosebumps movie. The tone is really ambling and light, and the way it has this feel of like a real fun film, almost like a kiddie film. What's a little bit strange in this fun tone is quite how extreme it goes in terms of visuals and storytellings and set pieces. I mean, I'm talking about practical effects this year. Oh my life, this is plastic fantastic. This is gruesome as it comes with some, I don't want to spoil it if you've not seen it, but there are some extreme effects in the way it goes. There's one that I was like, they're not actually going to do this. And all I'm saying is, gentlemen, you will cross your legs. When the gore hits and the gore happens, you might be like, whoa! And then you want to laugh and you want to cheer and you want to high five people. Sanitize your hands first before doing that, because of how fun it is. Scene stealing Clancy Brown here is the wraparound narrator of the stories. And effectively, he's a mortician called Montgomery. Is it Montgomery? Montgomery Dark. I mean, this guy is great. And basically, he's hiring some help for the mortuary, and this young girl comes along, and she wants to know some gross stories. So he then tells her the gross stories to see whether she can hack working in the mortuary. Each one is better than the last, and that's very rare in an anthology movie. In fact, the first story in it is throwaway. It's the Creep Show story. It feels so much like Creep Show, and it's very, very quick, very, very nasty. Got a good practical effect in it, and then it kind of over. And as someone watching it, you're going to go, yeah, that's Creep Show. That wasn't amazing, but that was pretty good. I'm up for this. And then the lady that he's telling the story to, it goes back to, and she's like, yeah, that wasn't that good, was it? That wasn't that good. And she's like saying the things you thought about it, which then means the next story has to be something a bit different. None of them are particularly massively original in terms of what the story says or where it goes, but it's so much fun. And each one gets better and better and better. And the last one, which is called The Babysitter Murders, is the best slasher film I've seen in years. I'm going to be really quick with number 3 because it's a movie you can see me review on the 30 Days of Horror from this Halloween just gone. It is The Shed. So another vampire movie. I've seen this film a few times, and it is blowing me away. I absolutely love it. And it has my favourite scene of the year. The bully, who is a very Stephen King style bully, those OTT bullies that you never really saw at school. But the bully in this is called Mabel, and it has he's the most amazing actor that plays him in the most tense scene of the year, about whether he goes in the shed or not. I've reviewed this in much more detail, so go back and look at that review already. But at number 3 for me this year is The Shed. You should go in the shed. And number 2, we have Saint Maud, a movie that weirdly feels a little bit out of time, a bit like you're not quite sure it could have been made years ago. It could have been made tomorrow. And it's a film that has an aching fear throughout it. As a viewer that something's not right. And though you've seen films before and you might want to guess where it's going, you're not 100% sure what's going to happen, but you know deep down it's not going to be good. I'd actually liken it to almost like a 70s exploitation film in the sense of the vibe, that you can see Maud played by, I'm gonna make a mess of her name. Is it Meredith Clark? You can see her needing something to believe in. So she's a nurse that sort of deals with people at the end of their life. But as well as giving care, she sees it as her role to save their soul. And she feels she needs to do that. So she's kind of on this path of self-discovery. But parallel to this is a descent to madness. And much like, you know, any extremism or people that need something to believe in, be it religion or be it extremism or be it Donald Trump, you know, believing the lies behind things that they say, she has to prove herself. Just believing is not enough for her, and the more she needs to prove herself to herself, the more we as a viewer start to see the manifestations of her belief. And that aching fear that the director, Rose Glass, writer and director, puts in it, builds to something that I thought it was fucked up. I thought it was fucked up. It left me feeling quite messed up as I was trying to like put the pieces of what had just happened back together. I really like this film and I can't wait to see it again. Yeah, Send Maud is number 2. My film at number 1 is Host. Rob Savage's 56-minute Zoom chat gone wrong. Now, it hit the zeitgeist back in the summer during lockdown. People were talking about it. I saw it all over Twitter. I didn't watch it because in my head, I thought, oh God, that's going to be cheesy. It's going to be tacky. It's someone just, you know, being a bit cheap with what's going on. And, you know, I'd watched Death of a Vlogger, which I really liked. I felt like I didn't need to see Host. I do like Unfriended. I do like Searching. I think they work really, really well, but I didn't see the point in it really. And then one day I decided, what the hell, I'd give it a go. Bloody hell, I was missing out. Host is a roller coaster ride that delivers. And it is not cheap. If you've not seen it and you've been put off by the concept, it is not cheap and it is not tacky. Rob Savage executes this so well. So you're probably aware the whole thing is set on Zoom and it plays with Zoom. And I've been doing a lot of work on Zoom and it plays with Zoom perfectly. I genuinely think, although we've had Unfriended and we've had Searching, this generation's Blair Witch or Paranormal Activity is Host, and it deserves that spot. Cleverly, the actors are sort of post-university, meaning that they're not screamy teenagers, gives it a bit more, you know, they've got a bit of life behind them. And it doesn't have to worry too much about setup and exposition, although the characters do develop. And this film is funny. It's really funny to begin with. And I think that on its own sort of lures you into a false sense of security. So when the scares come, they are so effective. I jumped out my seat. I screamed, I laughed. I thought this was brilliant. It holds its nerve. It's funny because you've enjoyed the scaredness of it. And in that way, you could compare this to those 80s horror movies that we love. The ones where you cheer when Jason slams a sleeping bag against a tree. And you know what? It is bloody fun and it is bloody scary. I don't know what the budget is, but it delivers. It delivers on its premise. And what more can I say? So Host, in this year of bizarre years, I would say this is perfect. I don't think there's anything at all. I think it's a flawless movie for what it sets out to deliver. A roller coaster, popcorn, scream fest. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So a great year for films. Hopefully I'll see you soon. Take care of each other in 2021. Peace.